Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Talking City podcast from the Manchester Evening News. I'm Tyrone Marshall, hosting today, joined by our chief city writer, Simon Bajkowski. For those of you that were listening on Monday, you will notice there has been a switch of roles here. It's that kind of versatility and that ability to play two roles without any noticeable drop in quality that Pep Guardiola so loves in players, I don't know, such as Ilkay Gundogan, maybe off the top of my head, and I'm sure we'll get on to Gundogan very shortly. But Simon, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, yeah, even better after that build-up, I would say.
Thank you, yeah, give me the big signal. Is that the first time you've been compared to Ilkay Gundogan?
I think so, but hopefully not the last. But I mean, it's it's very unusual for us to be doing a Wednesday record, but news happens and we have to respond to it. So been quite the start to the week.
Absolutely, we are primed 24/7 to go here. As soon as news drops, me and Si get those pajamas off, get our work clothes on, and we are straight to the coal face to bring you all the analysis you need. And yeah, we're going to start off with transfers and where else but Ilkay Gundogan. I mean, it's kind of come out of the blue, this story, but then when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. And to kind of lift the lid sometimes on how even the most obvious things bypass you. Me and Joe were talking about Gundogan at Stamford Bridge, and neither of us even mentioned a possible return to City. Well, I wonder if he could come back to the Premier League. Yeah, looking for a holding midfielder, aren't they? Maybe he could go to Liverpool. And none of us really clicked that maybe the obvious solution was right in front of us. But I mean, when you think about it now, they say never go back. But is this one just a bit of a no-brainer? Do you think?
It feels like a no-brainer. I mean, it's a bit strange that he's available. That's the thing. I suppose we've said on many podcasts that Barcelona have been very strange for years, and with their financial issues and manoeuvres. And Gundogan was one of their best players last season. He made it into the La Liga team of the year.
He started more league games than anyone else for him last year.
Yeah, and also was like a captain for them. Like some of the things he had this winning mentality that he carried over from City, and I think was it the Champions League? They went out to there was a dodgy penalty or something like that.
Yeah. PSG.
Xavi went absolutely mad about it and was like, it's ruined us. And Gundogan spoke afterwards and was like, you can't be blaming one thing that happened in the 10th minute on a defeat. Like, get over it, work out a solution on the pitch. It was like classic Pep and City mentality that he'd carried it, and Gundogan mentality, I suppose. But yeah, he was like one of their strongest leaders and best players, so he shouldn't be available. But Barcelona being Barcelona, he is. If you're talking about where he might go, I suppose the other obvious place where he might consider in England is Arsenal, who are also looking for, a kind of number 6 that he could play. So I think even if it wasn't a no-brainer for City to go for him anyway, the idea of Arsenal getting him and strengthening them even further would probably be an added help for City to say, no, we need to do this. And yeah, that's why they are kind of looking to get a deal over the line for him.
Yeah, it would be quite a story and quite a reunion. And I mean, like you say, Barcelona are just a shambles. I think bankruptcy is the best thing that can happen to that to that club. They've got a shiny new toy in Dani Olmo this year, but can't actually register him, which is why they are letting Gundogan go on a free transfer. But yeah, a long running joke of a football club. I mean, we've been talking all summer, and we were talking again on Monday about kind of the importance of having cover for Rodri, and we were saying on Monday Kovacic kind of looked like he might be that player at Stamford Bridge at the weekend. I think Kovacic was very much the Gundogan replacement. I think that there's kind of similarities between the two, maybe in what they do and how you see them, those multifunctional players. But I mean, Gundogan has more experience of playing that, I guess what we now call the Rodri role. But I mean, he was playing the Rodri role for City while Rodri was still in Spain and a relative unknown, really. And obviously he doesn't play it to quite the same degree. He's He's played further forward for City. We've seen how important his goals are, especially at the end of the season. But he would be probably as close to the ideal player as possible, I guess, to come in and play that Rodri role. It's versatility. I mean, you'd fear for maybe someone like Núñez, I guess, who's probably going to get even less games if Gundogan comes in. But it does feel like he's a pretty good solution if you're looking for someone else to come in and either take the heat off Rodri or be available if worse comes to worse and he gets an injury.
Yeah. There are so many things about it that just make sense. Like, he can play six. He played six in the second half of the 18-19 season, sort of ousting Fernandinho. He also played six in the 2021 Champions League final, but we don't talk about that. But he's also, played false nine and played 10 very, very well. And, like Gundogan's season when I think Kyle Walker says he turns into Prime Zidane in the final months of the season and just can't stop scoring. So, I think City are still looking to reinforce the squad with Alvarez going. But if they don't find anyone to fill that role, you've kind of got Gundogan who can do 6, 8, 10 and do them all really, really well. It would be bad news for Núñez. It may well be bad news for James McAtee. But someone like Nico O'Reilly, like a teenager who's played 8 and 10 through the academy, and Pep's had a look at him as a 6 this summer. Like, there could be no better education for Nico than spending a year shadowing Ilkay and, learning from a master footballer, basically. So so many things add up for this transfer. The only thing is, we're talking about him filling in for people. Does he want to fill in, or does he want to be a leading figure still? Because he showed last season that he can still cut it at the very top, playing loads of games. So does he want to be the guy who, is just the best substitute, I suppose?
Yeah, and I mean the other issue, this is kind of the mechanics of the deal, I guess, but one of the main reasons he left is because he didn't get the kind of length of contract he wants, and we know City, like a lot of clubs, are cautious with over 30s, and I think Gundogan signed a 3-year contract in Barcelona. It's a year on from when he didn't get the contract he wanted. Well, would he get the contract he wants this time? I mean, City, he's surely not going to sign for City on a 1-year deal. Are City going to be prepared to give him 2 years, multiple years? I mean, that, maybe a year without Gundogan has kind of made Pep realise that he still needs him. But that feels like kind of one of the sticking points, that we are a year on from when City previously didn't want to give him the kind of contract he wanted.
Yeah, that is an issue. There's been a lot of sort of, I don't know, people have different views of how Gundogan left, but kind of as we know it to be, City didn't offer him a 2-year deal kind of early enough. They let it go into May without him, and that made him think that he wasn't really valued as he was sort of captaining the team to treble victory. And, he felt like he was deserving of more than 1 year, and City were like, oh, we don't give out more than 1 year. Having said that, after losing Gundogan and Mahrez and Laporte, City then gave Walker a 3-year deal to keep him away from Bayern. So, something changed, whether it was just a loss of collective experience that they thought we can't lose anymore, or, knowing how important Walker was likely to be for the season. It did feel like not giving Gundogan an extra year was a mistake. However, now when you look at it, it feels like the right short-term move. But say Gundogan gets into that midfield, you've got Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Ilkay Gundogan, all three who have been with Pep since 2017, and they've grown older with him, and City have an older midfield. And like I saw, Bernardo ran more than any other player in the Premier League on the opening weekend. So again, I think he did it last year and he's done it this year again. So we're not saying, these players are running out of gas or anything, but it's quite an old midfield already. And to add Gundogan to that, not only are you potentially blocking off younger people from coming through, but it is just it's more work to do next summer or the summer after if you've got more people to kind of more legs to replace, I suppose.
Yeah, and we've spoken a lot about midfield this summer. You know, I think at the start of the window there was the interest in Brunei Jimenez and Lucas Paquetá, which for various reasons went by the wayside. And I think we've kind of expected City to sign a younger midfielder because, like we said, Bernardo's 30 and flirts with leaving every summer. De Bruyne's 33, and I think we all expect him to go next summer. Now it kind of feels like you've got Foden, and I think we're going to see Foden probably more central this year once all the wingers are fit, but it's felt like you kind of need a younger model to get up to speed. I mean, we always talk about the second season thing at City, and Guardiola was talking about it with Kovacic at the weekend. But like we say, Gundogan would be another 30-something. I guess as a short-term move for Rodri, it kind of makes sense. But I mean, we're saying it's a no-brainer. Are there any risks to it? You know, like you say, he departed a treble winner, lifting the Champions League, scoring crucial league goals, scoring the goals that won the FA Cup. If he comes back and only plays 50% of the time, does that affect his legacy? Does it affect the balance or the leadership with City or the development of any of these younger players? Do you kind of see any risks with it? Or is it just a case that if City are willing to give him 2 years and he wants 2 years, we're presuming here he's probably not going to want a 1-year deal, but you know, if even for 2 years, is it kind of just worth the risks, if indeed there are any risks?
Yeah, I think there are risks with it. I don't think it would affect his legacy, in the sense of what he has achieved has been so seismic. But he did have the perfect ending. You know, lifted the trophy at the Etihad, won the FA Cup at Wembley, lifted the Champions League in Istanbul, which had extra significance for him with his family. So, like, there was no better ending for him. And now if he came back, you know, I think what people would love is for Gundogan to maybe come back and then, you know, stay post-retirement even, and sort of, you know, he's been doing his coaching badges. He coached City's academy for a few sessions while he was here. So, you know, I think that is like almost the dream of people seeing Gundogan come back. But there is that chance that it turns into a sort of a bit of a damp squib in terms of not a non-event, but you know what I mean? If he is just covering for people, if he is an excellent cover, then you want that to be an abiding memory of Gundogan. And it won't for loads because of the treble, but he has already had his fairy tale ending. So, you know, they do say, don't they, like, never go back. And there is a reason they say it. But, you know, in terms of what City are looking for in the market, it just screams out as a better deal than they could have even thought of.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of short-term sense, doesn't it? And we will keep you abreast for the rest of the week of development. Stay tuned to the MEN and to Simon's Twitter feed especially. We'll keep you up to date with any developments. And I mean, while we're on transfers, what we got left now of the window, 9 days. What else do we expect from City? Kind of looking at kind of cheap forward options for cover. I mean, can they tempt Sergio Aguero out of retirement? What are we looking at here in terms of? Do you expect anything else? It feels like there could be another surprise up front with kind of the criteria they want filling for maybe attacking cover is pretty small. But these kind of opportunities often present themselves late in the window and unexpectedly, I guess.
Yeah, it feels like we're moving towards something late and unexpected, and not massively unexpected because, they've said they're looking for a player in the Alvarez mould. But as of, like, say, 9 days to go until the window closes, and there's no links with anyone.
No.
Anything they are doing, they're keeping firmly under wraps. So it feels like they're moving very, very quietly and stealthily, and in a way that if they don't bring in anyone, then they can just say, yeah, that's that. We don't mind. We're happy with that. And I think they will be happy with that, because when everyone's fit, they do have enough attacking options. Yeah. It's just keeping everyone fit. But they've been pretty good at that over the last few years. But yeah, I think, Gundogan is more likely than not to happen. And then it's just, whether they can land a sort of a similar deal, for a striker, or, attack or a 10, a 9 or a 10, basically. But, they've been linked with, say, Ivan Toney a lot, but that seems kind of a no-go, especially for the price that Brentford are asking for. I think Brentford have knocked back like a 35 million bid from the Saudi Pro League, holding out for 50, and it's, City have already made clear they're not going to be spending that kind of money on a forward or a holding midfielder. So, if they can get someone for under 20, then it could work. And I think that's the market that they're looking at. But I would say probably at the minute still more likely not to sign a forward than they are to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like Ivan Toney, but let's be honest, he's a pure number 9, isn't he? And he's going to start about 10 games at City if Erling Haaland stays fit. So it doesn't. That kind of move is not going to appeal to either party, I don't think. And like we say, even if they don't, it feels like I know they've lost Alvarez, but they've got enough cover there. Do they need another pure number 9 to stand in for Haaland when, for at least a season they coped without a number 9 at all? They have got Foden who could play there, Bernardo who could play there, maybe go back to this false 9. Gundogan could even play there, I guess. And
De Bruyne, Grealish.
You go back to this fluid kind of false 9 system and cope that way without Haaland. But we shall see. We'll bring you all those developments over the next 9 days, like I say, before the window shuts. But the season has started. An opening day win at Chelsea, and City are back at the Etihad on Saturday. And after this break, we will look ahead to the Ipswich game. Hello and welcome back to the Talking City podcast. While we're doing an ad hoc Wednesday podcast to react to the Gundogan news, we may as well look ahead to the Ipswich game as well, partly because we're actually both off on Friday. I was going to say several pints deep at the cricket by now, but it's only 10 a.m. as we're recording, so maybe just a one on the way. Let's not get carried away. We've got to be professional heading into the weekend. But a return to the Etihad, Sion, having got. I mean, when you looked at the fixture list that City have been handed, that opening day fixture looked pretty horrible, didn't it? It's very rare for kind of big 6 fixtures on the opening day. And, well, we're maybe being generous still including Chelsea in that. And I would imagine in 12 months we won't be. It's not an easy place to go, as City kind of showed last season. And they dealt with it brilliantly. And that win, I mean, Guardiola talked about afterwards, the confidence that's going to give the team heading into this week. And now they've got that out of the way. I mean, Ipswich are a newly promoted side, but in terms of an opening home game, it's what you want, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You tend to want to play the newly promoted teams in winter when they've been sort of ground down by the miserable reality of Premier League and they've forgotten the feeling of sort of winning every week that got them promoted. But if you do have to play them, you want them at home if you have to play them early, and if you have to play them second game of the season, ideally, you'd like to play them after they've had a kind of deflating opening home defeat to another big team. If Ipswich were coming to City on the back of a draw or even a win against Liverpool on the opening day, then they will be super hyped up. But it feels like, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how they set up at the Etihad. But they've already kind of had that chastening welcome to the Premier League where Liverpool were just too good for them. And they had their chances and didn't take them, and Liverpool did. And you don't want to be like condescending to the teams coming up, but it's like one of the first lessons you learn, isn't it? That if you don't take your chances, then you're more likely to get punished in the Premier League than the Championship.
Yeah, this to me has got Pep on Friday saying how brilliant Ipswich are, how clever McKenna is, how good their tactics are, how different they are, and then it's Man City 5, Ipswich 0. And he still says the same sort of thing after the game. It's got those sort of vibes, hasn't it? And I think they're the kind of promoted team that City will probably like playing because they're open, aren't they? They're not kind of this dogged, scrap it out, make it kind of a dirty game. I mean, they were aggressive against Liverpool, but they were aggressive in the press. And I can't remember if it was Match of the Day or Monday Night Football, but it kind of showed how they pressed man for man against Liverpool, and they went really aggressive. But Liverpool worked it out, and they do give you chances. And those are the sort of teams that so often we see Pep praising those teams, and rightly so, because it is good to watch and it is better football than, say, like Burnley under Dyche when they came up. This is better football, but also it gives teams with much better quality a much better chance. And it feels like Ipswich are in that bracket that I can see them for 15, 20 minutes making a real game of it at the Etihad and being aggressive. And then City gradually working out how to play against that man-for-man system, and just the better players make the difference.
Yes. I don't know if you remember, it was in the treble season, and City played Burnley in the FA Cup quarter. Burnley, who were then in the Championship, and Burnley were the better team for the opening 40 minutes, I would say. They were like really, really good. And City won 6-0. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
3.5 time actually.
Yeah, and I was speaking to people on the Burnley side, and it was exactly that. It was like we had the perfect game plan, and then they had better players, and they worked out our game plan, and they scored 6 goals.
Yeah,
and it really doesn't take City much, and City are unrivaled in being the best team in the league for adapting to situations. I think Guardiola said on Sunday, did he, that Savinho and Doku switched sides without him even telling them to. Like, this is a team who just is the perfect Swiss Army knife that can just have a solution for everything thrown at them. So, I will be interested to see how Ipswich line up, because will they be as positive and on the front foot as they were against Liverpool at home, or will they be a bit more reserved? I'm not expecting them to park the bus, but will they have a more defensive mindset? And if they do, will that maybe hinder them because it's not what they're used to doing? And so, are they caught in two minds and lose out in that respect? But the thing is, against City, you've got to be perfect and hope that they are far from perfect. That's the brutal reality for any team, but especially teams that are coming up from the Championship. And like Ipswich have done amazing to get where they are. And I think, did you tip them to stay up in?
I did. Yeah. I'm sticking by it. I've nailed my colours to the mast now. It's been clipped up, I imagine. So there we go.
And I'm not disagreeing with that, but the gulf is seen in the fact that they've got a lot of young, promising players, but say Aaron Muric or Liam Delap or Mari Hutchinson are not at the level of City and Chelsea, which is why they've been let go. And they might prove themselves to be excellent Premier League players, but they're not at the level of Erling Haaland and Ederson and Bernardo Silva. So there will be a gulf on show on Saturday, and it's just whether Ipswich's kind of collective and whatever Kieran McKenna comes up with can cope with City. But you've got this, you've got so many things in City's favour, and then like all the fans are going beside themselves at the idea that this could be a welcome home for Ilkay Gundogan as well. That has just kind of lit the blue flares even more to say Saturday could be a real party.
Yeah, definitely. It could be quite the occasion. And I mean, yeah, I found that interesting at the weekend when I don't think he said it in the press conference. When he seen it recently, when Pep said about Savinho and Doku switching sides without him saying. I mean, it kind of shows Pep's evolution as well, because you can imagine that happening at Barcelona, and he would be going apoplectic that two of his players have swapped positions without him knowing about it. But it does kind of show his development. And I mean, talking of Savinho, he looked pretty bright for 45 minutes. That was a pretty encouraging debut, forced off with what Pep said was a bit of an reoccurring knee problem by the sounds of things. We are recording this on Wednesday, as we said a couple of times, so we don't know exactly his status, but Pep seemed to think at the weekend he would be fit for Ipswich. And while there's more competition now with Foden having come on, Grealish is available, Savinho and Doku looked pretty excited as a pair of wingers. And we're talking about Gundogan's homecoming, but the Etihad hasn't seen Savinho yet, and that could be a story as well. If he gets a start, if he's fit enough to start against a newly promoted team, he could have a lot of fun there, and the fans could love seeing their new Brazilian winger.
Yes, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the City football group Bahia will be in attendance on Saturday as well.
Okay.
So it will add to the carnival atmosphere, throwing all the stereotypes in. But they were at a game last.
They were at a game last season. It was very carnivalesque, wasn't it? With
they did come with a samba band, so you can't.
They did. It's a lot of
fun. So that would be a lovely welcome for Savinho, and kind of encouraging that him and Doku had that thought at Stamford Bridge and came to it, because obviously Savinho is very new to the team. Doku is one of the newer players as well, and they're both young. We talk about kind of the aging legs in midfield, but it feels like this year is going to be more about the youthful energy on show on the wings, as City kind of move a bit more back to the 17-18 days of Sterling and Sane, which will also get people off their feet and be very excited.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that sort of wing play could work wonders with maybe if you had a giant 6 foot something number 9, it would be ideal. And it's just City's luck that they do. And midfield, then let's talk a bit about the midfield. I mean, even if Gundogan signs today, I can't imagine he's going to be fit enough to start and available to start. He might be on the bench if he does, and I think he has to sign by midday on Friday to be included in the squad. We await an update from Guardiola on Rodri. We don't really know the situation with his injury and his fitness status. Probably unlikely he's going to start, I would say.
I think he trained on Monday.
Right, okay.
Trained, so I think he could have a week. He was definitely in Manchester on Tuesday for the PFA Awards, where I don't know if you saw his quick fire questions. He was asked for his best players for various things, and he was asked to name the most underrated player, and his answer was Ilkay Gundogan.
Lovely stuff.
Would you believe?
This was done live on Tuesday night. Was it a pre-record or was it?
No, it was done on Tuesday.
Done on Tuesday. Carpet job. Oh, nice. Nicely done.
Yes.
Rodri drops hint over latest Man City transfer. I hope you've written up already. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He also, I think he was asked what he would do if he wasn't a footballer, and he said he would like a radio show because he likes talking and arguing. So
he's more than welcome to become a guest host on the Talking City podcast a couple of times a season if he wants. I'm sure we will stand aside and let him talk and argue until his heart's content if he wants. If he wants a gig here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's maybe a game where you play him, because if Ipswich are more attacking and on the front foot than most teams who come to the Etihad are, then you will need that kind of... It's not a case of, right, we can just park in the Ipswich half and whoever's playing 6 can be basically playing 8. So maybe, if he's fit enough, maybe he does come in. But, I mean, you would kind of expect Bernardo and De Bruyne and... there's too many players, because you'd expect Foden to come back in, probably. Despite, he didn't look great against Chelsea, did he, when he came on at half-time? I don't think the plan was certainly for him to come on at half-time. But with a week's training, he'll have really ramped up, and also having just won the PFA Player of the Year as well, he will be very, very motivated to show what he can do. Last time he was at the Etihad, he was winning City the league with that goal inside 2 minutes against West Ham, so he will want to show that he's back. So, yeah, it feels like the midfield is full enough without even needing Gundogan to be in the squad.
Yes, but it would be very nice if he was in the squad. And it's interesting you say maybe this is a game you play Rodri, because I was going to say, is this a game where you don't play Rodri? Do you? A newly promoted team at home, they coped with him without against Luton last year. Like I say, I guess a very different proposition, but is there almost an argument to say have another week off, put your feet up again? But like you say, maybe
there is, and Kovacic has done really well, and Rico Lewis, will be crashing that midfield whenever he can, and whether Akanji plays or Stones plays, they can always push forward to help. You would expect that, as front footers, we've said Ipswich are, that City will spend the majority of the game in control. So yeah, you can probably rest Rodri, and then of course he's there's one Premier League game to go, and then he's banned for Spain's next match.
Of course, yeah.
So
that's a one-game ban, isn't it?
One game ban, yeah. So he is available
be in the Spain squad
for their second game, but that's the more time you can give him to rest up, probably the better when you're in the Club World Cup final in the middle of July.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had a good debate and disagreement there over whether to play Rodri or not, and if he wants to get involved, he knows where we both are, and he can send us a voice note or give us a call, and we'll clip it up and add it into the podcast if he does so. Finally then, I mean, what sort of team are you picking? Because City won at Chelsea without any of their England internationals, all of whom you would think would start every game. Are we thinking they're all going to come back in? Might you carry on with Lewis? I mean, we always say it's a small squad. Guardiola likes to operate with a small squad. But you also look at that bench and think, it's a small squad, but when everyone's fit, there's some serious options there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's really hard. All of the England players will be wanting to dive straight back in. But, do you bring Walker in and say to Rico Lewis, well done on your man of the match performance, but you're on the bench now, and the same across the team. Like we said it on Monday, but like all the players who Pep needed to have a good start to the season to carry them through have had it in that opening game, so they probably deserve the chance to carry on. I would probably be looking to bring Walker and Stones, and probably Foden on for the final half hour.
Right.
I think you've convinced me with your Rodri argument. I think the more time off they can have, and the more time without playing 90, the better for them. And while you have players in form who are happy to start at the beginning of the season, I think you trust those players, and you've perhaps been through pre-season with them. And I wouldn't make too many changes at all, I don't think, on Saturday.
No, I think I'm the same. I would, if Savinio's fit, I think I would be very, very similar, if not exactly the same team. And like you say, bring those England players off the bench, because it does feel the game you can take the odd risk with, and maybe not starting them isn't actually a risk given their fitness state, and they've not played in pre-season so far in pre-season. Right, that's all for today's podcast. Thanks for your time, Si, as ever.
You are very welcome. Thank you for your time.
Not a problem at all. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We'll be back early next week to look back at the Ipswich game and delve into the transfer market and maybe talk about Ilkay Gundogan's homecoming. For now, do stick with the MEN for the latest on the Gundogan news and any surprise moves in attack, and stick with us at the weekend for all the action from the Etihad. If you've enjoyed the podcast, give us a like. Remember to subscribe to get the twice weekly pods in your feed. But for now, thanks for listening and speak to you all next week.